Hi boys and girls, it's Colin back again for Assembly. Today we're going to learn about a plant. Does anyone know what type of plant this is? It's quite prickly. It's called the cactus plant. So we're going to learn all about the cactus plant. I'll show you many different shapes, sizes and colours. Before that, let's sing the great song, All Through History.
Know about the most and know was both. The cat, the birds and animals afloat. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and Noah lived his life for him.
Noah!
Moses led his people through the sea, taking them away from slavery. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and Moses lived his life for him. Oh, thank you, oh, thank you. All through history, you were faithful. Thank you, oh, thank you. And you are just the same when it comes to me. When it comes to me. David fought Goliath and he won. Humble shepherd boy became the king. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and David lived his life for him. Daniel was inside a lion's den. God brought him to safety once again. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and Daniel lived his life for him. Oh, thank you, oh, thank you. All through history, you were faithful. Thank you, oh, thank you. You are just the same when it comes to me. When it comes to me. Jesus died to take away our sin, so we could get to know our God again. The Lord is good, the Lord is strong, and we will live our lives for Him. Oh, thank you, oh, thank you. All through history, you were faithful. Thank you, oh, thank you. You are just the same when it comes to me. Oh, thank you. All through history, you were faithful. Thank you, oh, thank you. You are just the same when it comes to me. When it comes to me. When it comes to me. When it comes to me.
All through history, God is faithful and we want to be thankful. Ready to see what's happening? What are we going to learn today? Here we go.
Today I'm going to talk to you about a plant. Does anyone recognize this plant or what type of plant it might be? It's a cactus. Cactus are not so common, yet they're very common in many parts of the world. Do you know out of all the plants you'll come across in the world, there are almost 400,000, about 390,000 different plants. And out of those plants, about 370,000 of those are flowers or can flower. So whenever God created this beautiful world and all the plants, did you realize there was going to be so many individual plants? The cactus is just one. And within the cactus family, there's about 1,500 different species or different types, shapes, sizes, colours of the cactus plant. Very, very interesting. It's not so common at home. You can buy them, of course, and you can have them in your kitchen, in your conservatory. But two things they need a lot of. And one is light and the other sunshine. Believe it or not, they don't need a lot of water, but they can store a lot of water. And I thought to myself, two things they need is light and sun, and that's two things which are absolutely essential to be a Christian. One is the light of the gospel, because the light of the gospel shines and makes us realize we need the good news of Jesus. And whenever we think about Jesus, he said, I am the light of the world, and he that followeth me shall not walk in darkness. So these plants need lots of light. They also need sunshine. And I think the sun away up in heaven is 93 million miles away, yet these cactus plants rely so much on sun. S-U-N. We also need the sun. The very person who created the sun in the sky sent his son Jesus into the world for me. And whenever you become a Christian, suddenly nature opens up, creation opens up, and you appreciate the very one who created this world. But let's learn a little bit more about the cactus plant, different shapes, sizes, and colors. So here are some more cactus plants. Some cactus plants are only a centimetre or two tall. The maximum ones can grow up to 66 feet tall. I'm almost 6 foot tall, so 10 times taller than me. And some of them are so heavy, they can be heavier than a car. So it's amazing the different varieties and the different sizes. But one thing amazes me about these plants, they also flower and they give up beautiful flowers, but they're nocturnal, which means they often just flower at night time whenever it's dark, and they'll give off pink and white and blue and yellow and beautiful colours of flowers. And sometimes they just flower for a day, sometimes for a week, and sometimes for many months of flowers. A cactus plant can grow and only last for maybe a year, and sometimes they can grow up, some of them can be 200 years old. And an amazing thing about a cactus plant, the roots are not very deep into the ground, because a lot of these grow in the desert, and if the roots were deep into the desert, there's no rain there, there's no water there. Therefore, the roots are very shallow, but they spread out. So whenever the rain falls, they can capture the rain really quickly, capture the water. And they're also a succulent plant, which means they've got they bloat out and have got a very thick skin, which means they can absorb a lot of water. And sometimes some of these can go for over a year without getting watered or without rain coming, because they can store up the water within them. One thing you'll notice about a cactus plant, it almost looks like a hedgehog or like a porcupine, because it has got thorns. And I thought, if you notice, unlike a normal tree, it doesn't have leaves, it just has skin, but it has pines, and these are like prickly thorns. Some of these are actually poisonous, but the reason for these here absolutely amazing, because if it wasn't for these thorns, a herbivore, an animal that eats herbs, eats grass, like a deer or a cow or a horse, when they come across and see this, they think, happy days, lunchtime in the desert, and they'll come along and they'll want to bite and eat the cactus plant. But it's got thorns. If you notice all around it, it's got thorns. And these thorns, it's impossible to bite through that, because they're so prickly and so painful. The other day I put my finger and it started to bleed instantly, because of the thorns, and there's thousands of thorns all around it. So a horse or a cow or a deer can't bite into that. But at the same time, the water within that is very good for you. Sometimes there can be different fruits that can be made from a cactus plant, and desserts. If you're walking through the desert and you're thirsty, there's no water, you can take a knife and cut into it and take the water to drink in order to survive. But I thought the thorns, there's a couple of reasons. It stops herbivores biting into it. And also, whenever it rains, or the dew, for example, sometimes in the desert it's very, very cold, you'll get a dew, then the sun comes out and it dries up. But the dew then what happens? It falls, it lands on those different thorns, then it drops to the ground, and the roots are so shallow, they absorb that, and it goes right into the stem and right into the plant again. They're very, very interesting whenever we think about these here. But I thought about thorns. One wee thorn pricks my finger. It's so sore. You feel like shouting, "Stop the world! My finger is so sore." These thorns were the very thorns they put on the lovely Lord Jesus whenever he was crucified on the cross. But they just weren't like these. They were big, big, long ones, and they were pushed right into the brow of his head. So it makes me think of the pain and the suffering and the agony the Lord Jesus went through just for me, to set me free from all my sin. So here's a big, big, long one, and you can see little baby ones coming out as well. And some of these can be very, very old. So even while it's growing, it's producing fruit, and it amazes me how it can last so long in the heat of the day, the blue sky, the sunshine, and it stands strong. Even the strongest wind, it doesn't push these over. And yet, if I tried to push it over, I probably could, because the roots are so shallow. But they branch out for a long, many meters into the sand to absorb every ounce of goodness. And I thought, that's like life. Every day we live, we should absorb as much goodness as we can. And the Bible teaches us about trusting in the Lord and doing good. When you trust in the Lord, believe in Him, He opens your eyes to creation, to appreciate plants and flowers and the very detail. Imagine you were trying to make a cactus plant. It's impossible. Try to even pronounce a cactus name. I can't do it. I tried so hard, and they're so long, yet I just appreciate looking at them, the shapes, sizes, colours, and God created every one of them. That's like children. God created all the children, yet they're all different shapes, sizes, colours, and there's not two people alike. DNA and every single human being in the world is completely different. From the naked eye, it looks the same, but in detail, it's completely different. You all have your own identity, yet God knows you all by name. And so the very God who created these wonderful plants knows you by your very name and knows all these plants. And I thought, here's another one. And look how prickly and how sharp it is, and that's of course to protect it, to stop birds, and also bees can come in and they can pollinate and even make honey through the very cactus plant. So it's got so many wonderful uses. It maybe doesn't look so good on the outside, but you think the benefits. And sometimes children and young people can think, I'm not very attractive, I'm not very nice looking, and they give up on life or they just cut themselves off. But God says it's not about the outside, it's about the inside and the very purpose I have for you here in this world. And it's amazing. Think of the big picture, and today we're thinking about a cactus plant, so beautiful, and yet it's created by our wonderful, amazing God.
So that's the cactus plant. Did you realize there were so many plants in the world, so many different types of cactus plant? Whatever you do, don't sit on them, or you'll feel the pain from the little sharp bits on the cactus plant. Let's sing the song, Peter and John Went to Pray.
Peter and John went to pray. They met a man on the way. He asked for alms and held out his palms, and this is what Peter did say: Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. He went walking and leaping and praising God, walking and leaping and praising God. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. Peter and John went to pray. They met a lame man on the way. He asked for alms and held out his palms, and this is what Peter did say:
Everybody!
Silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk.
Here we go!
He went walking and leaping and praising God, walking and leaping and praising God. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk.
Brilliant song! Really enjoyed that. Great song to finish with. Enjoyed the out and about the video today. But that's all for now. Enjoy the remainder of your day, whatever you're doing. Bye.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.